Good afternoon, members of different media houses. Thank you for coming, and sorry for a late start. We are late a little bit, but it is okay. Thank you for coming. For those who are coming here for the first time, thank you very much for responding to this invitation at short notice. For those who have been coming here, I'm happy to have you once again. Today is 20th of February. We are going to give some briefing on what has been happening over the weekends. A lot of media houses have been calling me on what has been happening, and it had been very difficult for me to give information in piecemeals. So we said it would be good for us to urgently call different media houses to come and benefit from this kind of briefing. Over the weekends, I learned through the media, like another person, the resignation of former Director of Military Justice, Brigadier General Henry Ruai Nyago. I went through the resignation letter he posted on different media outlets and on the social media. I discovered that he had accused SPLA of many things. Just to be on the same page or to remind you, he said SPLA officers, NCOs and men were committing rapes, murders, and other crimes against humanity without fear of being punished. He also said that there were high-level court interferences that included freezing or abolition of ongoing cases, talked about theft, recruitment of child soldiers, illegal occupation of houses for IDPs and others who fled their homes during 2013 and 2016 crisis, and that the SPLA that I'm representing is a tribal army. And another thing that I might have forgotten. Now, he was not the only one who also raised these questions. There was one Colonel Khalid Ono Loki. This officer was the head of military courts. He also reported that he had resigned from the SPLA, and many media houses also ended up quoting his purported resignation. It caused a lot of commotion, but we said it is time now for us to come and clear the air and tell you our side of the story. Let me confirm to you that yes, Brigadier General Henry Ruai has resigned from the SPLA, but he did not use the official channels or the established chain of command to tender resignation. He went abroad, and we heard about his resignation like any other people. But we can confirm, yes, he has resigned, because as media houses he used are credible media houses like the BBC, and we concluded that yes, it is true that he had quit the National Army. Clarification on the resignation of Khalid Ono. Khalid Ono did not resign from the SPLA. He actually defected from the SPLA, and he did not do it last week. It was a defection which took place last August. Last August, he defected together with the former Chief Negotiator for Corps of Action, Lieutenant General Khalid Butrus. Khalid Butrus had a huge wedding here. After the wedding, he came and asked for permission to go for honeymoon, which was granted. Khalid Ono had his daughter married here, and then he said he wanted to go to Nairobi to go and handle his family issues, probably to go and settle the issue of sharing of the bride price. But in all, we said, okay, he was going to sort out his family issues. So when Khalid Butrus was declaring defection, they declared it together. But it was overshadowed by the defection of Butrus Khalid. By Bashu, Butrus is his senior. So Butrus Khalid is told the show by Bashu being the most senior officer. But they were covered together. And if you were to go back to some media outlets that covered their defections, you would see that the two Khalids were sitting side by side during the press briefing, which was also organized by the former Deputy Chief of General Staff for Morale Orientation, Lieutenant General Bapin Mintwil. It was covered, and we responded by saying their defection was not going to have any negative bearing on the National Army. First and foremost, these were two individuals who went and defected abroad with no forces that were following them or forces under their command. And when they declared their defection, there was nothing on the ground which indicated that these two senior officers had followers who switched alliance sides after their defection. But because he realized that resigning was more of it has become fashionable of late, especially after the resignation of Thomas Cirillo. He thought it was time for him also to come in and say he resigned from the army. So he actually managed to fool Reuters. Reuters were the first media agency to break that news. So it is time to tell you this is a very old news. It is 6 months old, the news that was broken by Reuters. Secondly, before Khaled, before then, yes, it is true he was serving as the head of the military corps. But at some point in time, he was requested by the administration of Pibor to go and serve. Then he was released here. He was released here to go and serve in Pibor. At that time, it was called Greater Pibor Administrative Area. So he was officially requested. His people said his services were needed. He was released. When? To serve as a minister. Then when there were political changes, when Yao was not reappointed, the former governor came, Baba Medan. I think along the line he was dropped. And by the time he said he resigned from SPLA, he had not been reinstated back to SPLA. You know what happens that when you are in active service, you are requested by your community to go and serve them in a political post. Once your political service ends, a letter is written by the Chief of General Staff requesting the Commander-in-Chief of SPLA, that's His Excellency President Salva Kiir Mayardit, to issue a Republican order reinstating the concerned officer back to active service. That was not done. So he was using his previous, the last assignment he had before he went for civil service to enrich his status and make it look like he was still in active service. The person who was in active service until his defection was Henry Ruai. That one we can confirm. But also these two officers, these were officers who were retired by the Sudanese army. After independence, a lot of South Sudanese who were serving in Sudanese armed forces were retired either because it was time for them to come here, or they had been retired long before independence. So we said, because we're in the process of transformation of the SPLA, the leadership said these officers could be helpful in assisting the National Army in the transformation process. Then they were reinstated back to active service. But these were some of those officers who were retired from the Sudanese armed forces for different reasons. Some had failed in their duties. Some had reached their end of service time. They were retired for different reasons. But because the army that we are having today needed more qualified officers to assist in the transformation processes, they were given second opportunity to come and serve. So these are people who have not been familiar with the way SPLA operates. Okay, so they are not cadets of SPLA. They are adopted sons of SPLA, adopted officers for SPLA. So these are some of the clarifications I wanted to make first before I embark on answering some of the accusations they have leveled against the National Army. And the SPLA General Headquarters would like to respond as follows, based on the accusations they have given. You have the press release which is containing the accusations in that sequence. So even when I'm going to respond in that manner, in that sequence. They said that SPLA officers and soldiers have been committing crimes without fear of being punished. I'm here to say no, that's not true. That's completely not true. We all whoever commits mistake accountable, we bring them to book. And in 2016, all the soldiers who were accused of committing rape, committing murder, looting, they were brought to book. And if you could remember, we had a big parade here we had a big parade here where 77 names were read out. Today I got the list. It is actually 82. We heard officers, NCOs and men who were paraded here for the crimes they had committed. Rape, murder, looting. Some were demoted. Some were stripped of their ranks. Some lost their seniority. Some were sentenced to jail for 14 months, for 14 years. The highest. You were here. Most of you, I think, witnessed that. So that showed that there was accountability. They were not let go. They were held accountable. And if you don't believe what I'm telling you, you are free to take with you copies of this list. You go to maximum prison in Juba, because the requirement, the law says, once an SPLA officer has been convicted, he's sent to go and serve his sentence in a military jail, especially the ones that had been dismissed from military service. Those who are still in military service, but they are serving their sentences, they are sent to military police detention facilities. So it is not correct that SPLA officers, NCOs and men are not held accountable when they go wrong. That's not true. And in fact, we have some who had been killed by firing squad, because the issue of accountability, the issue of fighting impunity was adopted as our priority number one. They also went an extra mile by saying that officers or NCOs and men from the Dinka ethnic group, they don't get punished. No, that's not also true. I went through the list that I have here. It is here. You are going to be given a total of 82 SPLA officers. The majority who have been convicted, who have been sentenced, who are serving their sentences because of the crime they had committed, are from the Dinka ethnic group. In fact, 72 out of 82 who have been punished, they are from Dinka ethnic group. So again, this accusation does not hold water. These are things that you can confirm for your own agencies that you are representing here. I challenge you to go to our detention facilities. You go and confirm them. So and so has been convicted because of doing ABCD. And if you want a physical check, we are ready to take you. Then you verify it for yourselves. That's not true. The issue of looting or thefts. Yes, there was a lot of looting in 2016. Nearly the whole Juba, the whole population of Juba went on looting spree, including some bad boys from the SPLA. What did we do? We also held them accountable. Okay, they were held accountable. They are now they are in jails because of the crimes they have committed. Different categories: looting of vehicles, generators, name them, different types of items. Not only that, SPLA formed a task force. That task force went on recovery of looted items. And many of you would agree with me that we went on television announcing the recovery of some looted items and the willingness of the SPLA to hand over the recovered items to their rightful owners. I have very good examples. We were able to recover 4 heavy generators for a World Food Program. We handed them over, and that was covered. It was on camera. We recovered a lot of tires. We handed them over to Panorama Company. Okay, and many other small items that were recovered. So again, this accusation is not true. That looting was done, there was no accountability. That looting was done, items were not recovered. Some of the items we managed to recover, they were returned to their rightful owners. So that accusation, again, it does not hold water. They also talked about recruitment of child soldiers. You know, this is a song that they have just decided to sing. This is a song that is being sung from time to time by different international organizations like UNICEF, Human Rights Watch, and the rest. There was very serious accusation last year, even in 2015. What SPLA did was to send child protection representatives from child protection unit. At the time, they spoke of massive recruitment in 4th Division, in former Unity State, currently northern and southern Ligi states, including Ruai. The team that was sent was able to register 16 children, 16 child soldiers. They were registered, and a report was brought back and handed over to UNICEF. But up to now, they have not done anything to demobilize them. Now, if there are new reports of renewed recruitment of child soldiers, we are ready to go for fact-finding mission with the concerned bodies. We go with them to the areas that they have said of child soldiers. They go and verify it for themselves. We are ready to do that. We have nothing to hide. We have enough manpower, and therefore we have no need to recruit child soldiers. Where it happens, we are ready to go do the verification and do demobilization. And let me take this opportunity to challenge Amnesty if they talked about recruitment of child soldiers. UNICEF, that we are ready anytime, any day. Form your team. SPLA would be in a position to give you personnel from Department of Child Protection to go and do verification, so that we put this issue to rest once and for all. You know, there was time, big exaggeration was made that SPLA recruited over 15,000 child soldiers. You know, when they were cornered with hard facts, they said they had settled on that number for budgeting purposes or for funds mobilization purposes. Now, why do you get imaginary figures, then you use them for fundraising? Not only that, they went and they copied and pasted photos of child soldiers from Cobra faction. They said they were from SPLA. And at that time, Cobra faction had not been integrated into SPLA. They were still an independent armed group. But the photos for child soldiers from Cobra faction, they came and said they were from SPLA. You just go, you Google, you'll find it. Okay? So there are also hidden agendas here. You have some NGOs who would author their damaging reports so that they get some funding from international community and from donors. Why don't they use decent means and ways of getting funding instead of getting funding by damaging our reputation, by tarnishing our reputation? Don't they know that we have the right to take them to court? You exaggerate the figure, you go for fact-finding mission, you don't get them, we would be in a position to take legal action for defamation. The law says so. Okay, so it is good for whoever is always on our case, even when they are not sure, to be a little bit careful. That we have a name to be protected. SPLA should not be used as a dumping site. Whenever something is wrong somewhere, it is blame on SPLA, even when we are not responsible for it. They also spoke about illegal occupation of houses. Illegal occupation of houses was not done by the SPLA. You know, after the war erupted in 2013, most people who felt that their lives were under threat, of course they fled to enemy's camps. They left their houses. Some people, of course, entered their houses, but they were not from the SPLA. Civilians entered image houses Okay. People from all walks of life. But after it came to our attention, and last year, the Chief of General Staff, General Paul Malonga, formed Instability Operations Task Force, tasked with the responsibility of evicting illegal occupants. And as I speak to you, this task force was able to evict illegal occupants from 3,960 something houses in around 9 residential areas. They covered Mangaten, Gudele, Jabeldinka, Lologo, Korulium, Tongping. And they categorized. They realized, yes, there were some illegal occupants. They were evicted. In Jabeldinka alone, over 300 illegal occupants were evicted from the houses. And those houses are empty as I speak to you. If you would like to go and confirm, we'll take you. They realized also some houses at some stage were allowed to be occupied by relatives or friends with the consent of the rightful owners. Then again, it was discovered that some houses were also put on rentals. And that became an agreement between the landlord, the landlady, and the tenant. Those ones were verified, that they were genuine rental agreements. And he said, all right, it is private property ownership. You have gotten into a lease agreement with the tenant as the landlord. We have no objection, as long as it is proven beyond any reasonable doubt that it was done through consent with the written agreement of the two parties. Again, then the accusation is not correct that the military leadership is turning blind eye to illegal occupation of houses. You have been watching these operations on the television. Am I right or wrong? That Major General James Akenya Adim from military police, and then at some stage he was moving with my deputy. They were covering, and I'm sure you must have watched this. So again, this accusation is not true. We have done our best. The military leadership and General Paul Malong has done the best to ensure that illegal occupants are evicted from the houses that do not belong to them. And the operation is ongoing. There are issues. It is a complicated process. We have cases where some houses got occupied since 2013. Some people even felt that they would be abused. Okay, but with these operations now, over 200 to 300 people have already returned to their houses. We are ready to also to take you. If you are interested in confirming this, we are ready to take you anytime. You just get in touch with us. Okay? So that you go and confirm that all these accusations that you are reading, they are not correct. I'm not lying. If you have been in this country, you have been reading the news, you have been watching television, you would concur with me that what I'm saying is correct. Now the issue of SPLA being the tribal army. Is it this SPLA I'm representing or is it a different one? Before Shirilo defected, was he the only Bari in the SPLA? He wasn't. Before Enerawai defected, was he the only Shuluk from the SPLA? He wasn't. Before Khalid, defected or resigned from SPLA, was he the only Murle? He wasn't. Okay. And take it from me. And you can also go around do your survey. If there is any army that has a national composition with a better national outlook, then it is the SPLA. Go to an office here. In this office alone, we are more than 5 nationalities. In this office alone. I'm a Nuer. My deputy is a Dinka. I have The other information officer is a Lutuko. It is only this office alone. Go to MO. You go to all these offices. Okay, that's not true. It is not a tribal army. In fact, the armed groups that they are going to join are more of tribal groupings than the SPLA. Let us assume that Henry Ruai is going to join Agwelek. Agwelek is predominantly from that ethnic group. You go and find out. You name any armed group that we have around, because the rebel groups that we have in the country, they are regional based rebel groups. The one we had in Western Equatoria, South Sudan National Liberation Movement, which eventually signed an agreement with the Budwe state authorities, mostly from the Azande community. I'm not tribalizing the rebel groupings, but this is the reality. You go to SPLA, who are dominating it. You dissect these rebel groups that we have in the country. And they are operating independently. They are not operating under one umbrella. You go here. The thugs who have been terrorizing people between Juba and Numili Road, they are from one ethnic group. In fact, it is like this saying, Rastafarian saying that you are jumping from frying pan into a fire. These people have defected from a national army, and they have ended up joining tribal outfits. I'm not lying. Okay. I'm even speaking from experience. Are you aware that I was a former SPLA spokesperson? If you are, and then is there anybody who knows this rebel movement better than me? No. The ones we heard in Bar al-Ghazal with Dawa Turjo, purely they were from Awil. So even the IOA itself, you find them wherever they are, you find it is that particular group, they are the ones who are in that area. Okay. So it is again not correct that that SPLA is a tribal army that is here to do tribal issues. No. That's not true. So sometimes you members of the media, you should also be helping us in giving us a fair coverage. Okay. And you also watch out that you are not fooled. It was all over the news that Khalid had resigned. Khalid had resigned. I kept on saying no. That was not a resignation letter. He defected, and it was not this year. It was last year. Okay. And I was not being quoted properly. Some even media houses would just tell me, can you confirm the resignation? And then I concentrate on confirmation. The accusations are played. After I deny or I confirm. Now, what are our conclusions that we are making? We are saying we are denying all the accusations that have been brought against SPLA. I had mentioned the accusations, and I countered the accusations by telling you the reality. And I'm urging you to report objectively on what I'm telling you, because it is correct. I'm correct. I'm also saying that there were no resignations, they were defections. Why am I saying that they were not resignations but defections? In the army, resignations are tended through established chains of command. What do? You give one or two reasons, mostly personal reasons. Then you submit your resignation letter. You wait. You remain on your assignment. You continue discharging your duties. You wait for approval to come. Once approval comes, you are discharged from military service. You are given discharge certificate. You are given your post benefit. for service benefit allowances, then you go in peace. But what have they been doing? They have been, first they flee the country, they go and write the defection letters. They are actually defection letters. They flee the country. One tells you, I'm sick, I'm going for medical attention. Oh no, I'm going for honeymoon with my wife. Oh, they give different reasons. Like Ruai was doing his master's in Khartoum. He was actually on study leave. He went and turned it into a resignation platform. They go, they write their defection letters, they post it on the media. Ask any professional soldier all over the world. Resignation letters are not done like that. So what are they? They are defection letters. They are not. It is good for you to get this. They did not follow the right channels. In fact, these are highly politicized military officers who decided to politicize the military service. Yes, that's it. Secondly, these are officers who took for granted the honor and glory that comes with serving your nation and your people during difficult times, during trying moments. These are officers who have no idea that it is really beautiful when you stick to your guns and you remain with your people during tough times. They are actually quitters. And that's why I've said that SPLA denies accusations leveled against it by quitters. These are people who have decided to quit because they cannot cope up with the tough times the country is going through. But we shall pull through. SPLA is known for withstanding the test of time. SPLA has passed through many storms and came out and emerged very powerful. SPLA remains a formidable national army that is capable of defending the territorial integrity of this country, of protecting the people of this country and their property, come what may. They decide to go quietly, we wish them good luck. They decide to do otherwise, we shall meet them on the battlefield. We hope for the best, but prepared for the worst. And we shall overcome. Let them try whatever way they want. Okay. These are two individuals. Lastly, the SPLA General Headquarters under the leadership of Chief of General Staff, General Paul Malongawan, would like to assure our people that the defections of 2 to 3 officers is not going to affect the cohesion of this national army, its ability to maintain law and order, its ability to ensure that justice is done to lawbreakers, to ensure that security is maintained across the country. Let me stop here. I'm ready to take your questions. If you have any, I'm ready for clarifications. Thank you very much.